So weird.
Okay.
Take it easy.
So many reasons why people are connected to what happens here is because of the tours that Kevin, you put on Warped Tour and other stuff as well. When you wander these hallways, and we just did this tour with you, and see your connection to all these bands and all these early days, what do you make of a place like this? And here we are 2 years in.
Jack's a lot nicer now. Me and you always. I got turned on to punk rock in like 1979 for me. I was living in a little hippie town called Claremont. It was mostly known for Grateful Dead and things like that. And I met my first punk rocker. He had the best punk rock name. His name was Xerox Clone. And he was this kid that kind of turned me on to this music. And you know, of course, he was getting shit thrown at him by the football players in high school and stuff. And I was kind of navigating in between this world that I was kind of around, and I didn't really fit in quite anywhere. And I met him, and he started telling me about some of these bands. Shortly thereafter, living about an hour outside of LA, we started drifting into LA to start to watch bands and see things, the Whiskey, Starwood, some of these venues there. And for me, it was like, as a fan, I was learning, I was exploring, kind of figuring out who I was. But when I really realized I wanted to do this for the rest of my life was the first day I got to work a show. When I got to work that first punk rock show, and I was like, this is where I want to be my whole life. Now I didn't want to be in that club.
Very long hair.
What?
You had very long hair.
I had, I didn't get my ass kicked because it was a violent scene in LA, because I was the weird dude with Doc Martens, cut off overalls, long hair,
no shirt,
27 bracelets, and a cowboy hat. So even the lads and the U.S. skins were like, we don't want to fuck with that guy. I don't know who he is, you know. And then hooking back up with Golden Voice in L.A., Paul Tollett, who I went to college with, and pretty much just took off from there. And shortly was running 320 shows a year in L.A. and have stories with all these people, and except for Ed, I'm just meeting. And early on, I remember the first time you coming down, Mike, and playing at the country club maybe. Jennifer Finch and her friends shooting BB guns at other people after a show we did in Hollywood and at a swim party.
Time we took it.
Jack always thinking he wasn't getting paid enough. Always thinking Gary Tobar was ripping him off, or someone was.
He wasn't.
And then later on, lucky enough to get to work with Vinny when I kind of went into management with Les and Jake after starting the Warped Tour and things like that. But it really exposed me to this music. But I was working everything. I wanted to work every night of the week. So a lot of my friends only wanted to work punk rock. I was working metal. I was working blues shows. Anything to get exposure to live music. But I always felt more at home in a little bit of that controlled chaos of Warped Tour. Or Warped Tour of the club, of punk rock.
Well, there's also community. People were working together differently, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I always say punk rock, if there was a half a pizza out back, everyone shared the half a pizza. And you always moved your drum kits, which were cool for the opening acts. The metal bands were always hazing the younger bands.
We can stop right there, because none of these punk rock bands move their drum kits these days. I'm just throwing that out there. That's one of my biggest complaints. I go play shows with these guys these days, they don't move their fucking drum kits. It's unbelievable.
They don't steal people's drum kits either.
Well, whatever.
So there's good and bad in the different areas of what we're doing.
Jack did steal Joe from the Vandals' drum set early on.
It doesn't matter. The bottom line.
You gave it back to him.
Eventually he got it back.
I'm just saying, it's crazy sometimes. I remember telling my buddy was working one of these shows and he had, whatever, let's just drop, I'll be quiet. I'm
Kevin, I want to tell you something though, and people don't know this about the Warped Tour. Why my band did it so many times is because how he ran it was so fucking punk, where you never knew when you were going on, you only had to play a half hour, and you could really do anything you wanted to. Once in a while, when someone would get shot, when someone lost an eye by Fletcher, you'd be like, okay, slow this down. But really, it was that cool of a tour.
You'd be waiting for that lineup, for that schedule to come out pretty last minute for a lot of these shows, right?
At yours.
You wouldn't know.
I mean, bringing the Warped Tour back has been a little different because I'm trying to do it without taking it on the road. I'm not telling people what day people are playing. I'm not going to tell them what time they're playing until the fans want to know the day of the show.
This is kind of being an asshole.
Well, in some ways now being a full-time
50-year-olds.
in some ways now, the other day someone says, you must be a sadist to your, I'm a full-time professor at the University of Southern California teaching 5 class. They go, you must be a sadist to your students the way you treat these bands.
I got a Warped Tour story. I got a couple of them.
Okay.
So Fresno, they're throwing trash at this young band, and this young band's crying because they're throwing shit at them, right? Which is like, come on, man, they're just throwing some trash, right? It's no big deal. So they say no trash throwing, right? But then I look and they've thrown a condom. They've been throwing some condoms out. So, and if Kevin remembers this, so I grab the mic, I go, hey, look, you guys are throwing condoms. I'm stoked you're doing this, but some of you are probably afraid to ask your parents how to put them on or what's going on. I go, so I got $50. If somebody wants to jump up on here and get it together and put a condom on, I got 50. So this kid jumps up, pulls his pants down,
Look at my kid, by the way. How old was this kid?
I'm 63, so he's a kid.
He could have been 35, right?
Could have been
I'm not-
catch a predator.
I can't see. All right, of legal age, as far as I can tell. And so he gets it together and he puts his condom on. Everybody fucking cheer. Excellent theater, great theater. And then we walk off, and Kevin says, "Great show. Cops are looking for you." And so why they were trying to get me for solicitation because I gave him 50 to jerk off. And that's not a good crime to get arrested for. It just doesn't look good on the
That's a
docket.
hot story though.